In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, PL's 1975 C-231 S1 amended 2006 C-70 S2, Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of time, date, location to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the New Coaster on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed at the Administration Building, Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on January 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skills and the character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please.
Sabez Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Breach.
Here.
Ms. Cook. Mr. Grillo. Mr. Latoracco.
Here.
Mr. Remy.
Here.
Mr. Saunders. Ms. Lozinski.
Here.
Ms. Etienne.
Want to stand for the flag, please? Let me start with our committee chairs. Mr. Latoracco, you have 2 committees to report on.
Thank you. I'll start with the subcommittee in the Barack Obama building. We met on the 17th. We are going to look at developing a master plan for all kinds of potential uses there, but immediately we thought we'd deal with getting activity in the building and kind of taking the low-hanging fruit that will use the media center, perhaps do a literacy, story time, arts and crafts activities come the holidays this fall, and try to utilize the gymnasium with some kind of recreation, talk to potential partners there. We can get that going, spend minimal amount of funds on repairs and freshening up the space and getting it going. We won't deal with any updating of the boiler as of yet. The system is working, and we have to see if we're putting academic into the building, then come late fall, we can include that in our federal fund requested budget. We do have an appraisal of the site of the maintenance building. We also have an older repair estimate for what's needed there. So we're going to update those with the idea that gather more facts as to whether there can be a shift of that facility to Obama or whether it's not feasible. Noted that with the Parent Center, we'll probably look at an event that uses bigger space and more people for Obama as we're getting the parent space up and going. A lot of this, because of COVID, we really want to see what our facility usage is as we hit the ground now, where it's been essentially a year without more normal activities going on. And the administration is working to see what are some potential academic programs that might be feasible with the other aspects of doing academic programs there. What's going to be feasible, and if so, then requesting federal grant money. So that was that subcommittee. I don't know if we have questions on that before I do finance. We all set? With regard to the Finance Committee, we had a meeting August 19th. We did end the contract for services between the district and Energy Systems Group, a group that all of the main principals had left that group, and we were now dealing with a totally different entity. So we are going to be moving forward with soliciting new proposals for the energy service companies so that we can start our energy savings improvement plan again. I don't recall seeing that on the agenda, Mr. Hastings. I'm not sure if we...
No, we don't have a resolution.
We don't have to do that. We can just go ahead. We're waiting for Thursday, August 26th for the administrators union to meet. We have a negotiated agreement that's been accepted by their leadership and by the board. They need to get back to us with regard to their full vote, and therefore we don't anticipate that on the agenda until September. With regard to the high school stadium, the netting has been completed. That's all up. And we're going to be getting quotes on any of the concrete repair we're looking at. With regard to the 2023 budget, so after the first quarter, we'll probably be requesting information from the administration. We're going to be looking at a budget cut of $5.4 million due to the S2 bill, that budget loss of state adjustment aid funding. So we'll be looking now about programs that might not be working, about any outsourcing we might do. Moving ahead. With regard to others, maybe you've seen there are more ads out there now for substitute teachers for the Asbury Park School District. The administration has been working with Kelly Services, saying we would like to see a bigger pool of individuals. We're currently paying $90 a day. The committee discussed if ensure that is the going rate for other school districts in our area. If we're low, we will be competitive with that rate, and the committee would bring it to the board and say, let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll review in late fall any solicitations for changing Kelly Services as our substitute staffing and the cafeteria services. So those RFPs will come up later in the semester. And that was it for finance. Questions?
Quick question. You said that $5.4 million cuts for 22 and 23? Is that what it's for?
Right, for the 23 school year, which is 22-23. It'll be $5.4 million in loss of adjustment aid.
Mr. Remy, you want to go over your committee report?
Sure, I can take that if you like, Mr. Remy. The Buildings and Grounds Committee met on the 19th. We had not received any new facility request forms. We talked about the reopening of school in September and the work being done by our custodial and maintenance teams, and the cleaning they're doing continuing to clean based on the COVID-19 protocols in preparation for the full reopening. The superintendent has a walkthrough scheduled with our Buildings and Grounds supervisor very soon. We did touch on the stadium, as Mr. LaRocca mentioned, as well as the subcommittee report out on the Barack repurposing. And then there was a conversation about summer and the heat and some of the air conditioning breakdowns that we've had in the district. It's noted that the high school, Thurgood and Bradley, are fully air conditioned. Bradley here is on schedule for a full renovation of our unit ventilators. That's going to be paid out of our ESSER 3 grant funding so that we can get all those units back up and running. We have some that are down, and due to the age, it's difficult to get parts to get those back up and running. But I'll note that's the air conditioning portion of the system. So the system is still circulating air, will circulate heat obviously during the fall and winter, but unfortunately during the summer it's circulating the same warm air that's inside and outside. We also have window units installed in some of the classrooms, and administration here at the building and at our other summer locations tried to move classrooms into those buildings. We also have the upper elementary scheduled with our ESSER 2 funds for a full unit ventilator replacement that'll include air conditioning capability in those units. And then the second phase of that will be to add a condensing unit compressor to the outside of the building to support the air conditioning function. So that'll sort of be a two-phase at the upper elementary versus one phase here at Bradley.
Any questions?
Just wanted to switch back to solar. Driving down 3rd Avenue, I saw we were getting the solar. I just forgot, what's our timetable on completion of solar being activated? It's 2022, right?
Right, this year the solar will be up and running. We expect a pretty quick turnaround. The install was delayed basically just on design. So there was a final review of the design and where panels were going on the various roofs of our schools, and some changes and tweaks made based on where we have. For example, we talked about adding compressors to the high school for the college wing there to add some more air conditioning. So we just wanted to make sure the panels didn't interfere with future projects, and to make sure the panel arrangement didn't interfere with access to other rooftop units. So the solar landscape, which is here in Asbury Park, started at the Bradley building this week. So there's been delivery of panels. Those will be installed on the roof, and from there they're going to move to the high school and then to the other 2 buildings. I'm not sure which after the high school, whether it's Thurgood or the upper elementary. But we expect those to be up and running in the fall.
Ms. Breach?
Okay, as everybody knows, homecoming this year is September 24th. It's earlier than we normally do because of our schedule, but we are going forward with our normal homecoming events. As far as we're going to have a parade, we're going to have our court, we're going to go ahead like we've done in the past with the exception of last year. So I'm looking forward to that. If anybody has a convertible they like to donate to the parade, but we're going forward as we did in the past. We're going to try to celebrate our 1970 alumni, our 1971 alumni, since we weren't able to do that last year. So we're going to try to recognize those 2 grades. We're still looking to honor 2 individuals from those classes to be honorary captains. We're waiting to hear back from a couple individuals, and once we know that, we'll let you guys know. We posted our winter coaching jobs. We had a successful media day with our fall sports program. Our football team was on hand. A couple of the other teams were on hand. Unfortunately, some of our students were working. They weren't able to be there. But all in all, I think it was a great day. I want to thank one of our sponsor, Dr. Angela Chinichi, personally, from donating all the pizza that our kids were able to enjoy that day. And, I noticed a lot of our football teams here right now. So I'd like to recognize them. Looking forward to a successful fall sports schedule and program. And, we're back. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. Our first home game's coming up, so we'll see you all there.
The only other committee left is policy. We have a slew of updated mandated policies for first reading and tonight. And the only thing that has changed is the COVID update policies based on what the old executive order was, and now we have a change of executive order. So unless I missed something, Jeff, that's about it.
Right, it's a large alert, 224 from Strauss Esme. But as you'll see on the agenda, there's some different sections there. But the bulk of the first section is just based on new statute. So they're mandatory updates based on the new statutes that were adopted by the state legislature. The second group, because of all this federal money that's going into the state, into the various states, the state has looked at their Office of Fiscal Accountability and Compliance and audits done by them as relates to federal funds. And they made some recommendations on policies that districts should have in place to monitor the spending of federal dollars. And then, as you said, we're switching from the road back to the road forward based on the various COVID plans the state has put forward. But they're all mandatory adoptions. And the abolished policies, you'll note there, the ones that are being abolished have the same language, just in a different policy that we already have adopted. So that's why those are being abolished.
Any questions? No? The only thing I wanted to bring up before we go to the public portion is if we could adopt our goal action plans next month. I don't know if, yeah, I have the number one I sent around to everybody for review. I don't know if the operational norms, if anybody's met on that. If you can, if you get an opportunity to do that. Yes.
In regards to that, I did reach out to Kathy Wyckoff, and she suggested that we hold off on that until we have, our permanent suit. And our chairperson is Ms. Cook, and I'm speaking on her behalf.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Ms. Lozinski, I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't know if you wanted me to update.
Oh, curriculum, how
Yes.
could I forget?
Okay, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. The C&I committee met on Tuesday, the 17th. I'm just going to recap a couple of highlights. First, number 14, recommend the board to approve the development and submission of the New Jersey Child Assault Prevention, the CAP program. We've been doing this program for a few years. It's to help with our students dealing with suicide prevention, interventions, and postvention, so that we deal with the whole student in that regard. Number 15, recommend the board approve the development and submission of the application for the American Rescue Plan Act, Individuals with Disabilities in Education. So this is a big grant. Hopefully, if we were to get it, it would help with our special needs population, as well as there's a portion as well for preschool. Skipping down, number 18, we recommend the board approve the implementation of the HYPE program, Helping Youth Process Emotion. This program was actually developed and started at Thurgood Marshall. When that guidance counselor moved up to the high school, she's bringing that same program up to the high school with some adjustments, obviously, for high school students. Just need $200 for supplies. Skipping down, recommending the board approve the Frontline RTI program management system to track student progress and monitor the effectiveness and make better database decisions. So we're just going to consolidate all of our programming through Frontline, as we already do currently now with IEP Direct and a couple of other programs for our special needs students. Moving on to number 23, we recommend the board approval for the posting of the extracurricular activities for our CTE Academies. As you know, we have 3 CTE Academies, and we run a 1 hour after. It's actually a required component of the CTE Academies to run the 1 hour after school portion of that program. The last 2 items on the agenda to put on recently, we're asking the board to approve and accept the $5,000 grant from the AmeriCorps State Commission to be used to purchase some clothing, and the $25 ShopRite gift card for 50 identified Asbury Park School District students. So we're in the process of doing that as we speak. And lastly, we recommend the board approval for the language and literacy awareness, multilingual and multicultural education. We're going to be providing staff development on the 9th and the 10th for all teachers. Basically gives teachers in grades 7 to 12, I should say, a general overview of best practices when dealing with bilingual and English language learners. Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing, is there any questions for Mr. Reese?
Hi. A little bit more of a finance question, so I might go to Mr. Hastings, but I noticed some of the social emotional learning and tracking were able to use ESSER funding. Were all considered the software solution program and others? Did we do a consideration of all and whether all were covered under ESSER funding or not?
Yes, so ESSER 1, which is also called New Jersey Cares, plan was put together, as well as the ESSER 2 funding plan were both put together and submitted some months ago. In putting those plans together, there were SEL considerations in terms of the initial setup of the budget. So I can't speak directly to that particular program, but SEL programs were included in both of those budgets. As we move forward through those budgets and spend the funds, there is a window for budget modifications. So we can take maybe money that was expected to be spent, let's say 50,000, and we spend 40, you could take that 10 and reassign it to SEL. And then of course there is that specific SEL portion of ESSER 2, which I think is at 45,000 that is available directly to SEL programs. And I know Dr. Howard Morris had provided some programs there to take care of those funds.
I have two questions, Mr. Reeves. Number 23, what is the cost for the after-school programs?
Well, this is not the, 23 is not the after-school program. Which one are you talking about, 20?
B7 23 for
23,
the,
this one is for the CTE Academies. So it's really 1 hour, we pay $41 an hour.
$20 an hour?
It's 41
$41.
for the teachers, yeah. For 1 hour, once a week.
Okay, and the other question I have is B620. Can you elaborate a little bit as far as like what their actual program, who's running this program? Is it going to be in-house or is it's a management group? And just,
Yeah, it's
it's $13,000. So I mean,
Yeah.
is it coming from, a funding group or is it something coming out of our budget? Just curious.
This is, I'm not sure what budget line exactly this is. I know this is submitted by Special Services. Go ahead.
This is
IDA?
IDEA
right?
funding,
Yeah.
I believe it's for software,
Yes.
not a specific,
So it's grant?
it's grant funded through IDEA, and it's for software.
It's software we already use, and it's just we brought a new component in, RTI, which is response to intervention, to help our students to identify. We used a different program before, which was HIPS intervention. This will help us to consolidate under one program because all those programs talk to each other. You're welcome.
Any other questions? One other question I want to ask the board members that are involved in the superintendent search. On September 2nd, we're going to be reviewing. Do you want to just have a meeting or do you want to come in a little bit at a time? It's just if we have more than 3, we'll have a quorum. So what's everybody's, what do you want to do? Because I'll call Kathy and we'd have to post for a special meeting. Yeah. What time, because Kathy was going to come at 4, but if we have a lot of people coming at 5 or 6, we'd have to post a special meeting. So I don't know what's everybody's opinion about, should we post for a special meeting? And if we are, what time did you want to start?
Well, I'm not sure what you're at. Joe and I could come earlier if there would not to have others come later, and then there's
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No quorum
Right.
issues, and and Kathy is there from 2 o'clock?
From 4 o'clock on, she'll be there. So if you stagger, because I know some people are working, they'll be there later. We can kind of stagger it, then we don't have to have a special meeting.
And this is September 2nd.
Yes, September 2nd, yes.
Well, with others coming at 5, I'd say maybe we announce. Yeah, let's announce a meeting.
You want to announce, what time do you want to start? Just tell me what time.
So Joe and I would be here 4, others would come at 5.
Okay, so we could start the special,
Well, so the way it's currently set up is from 4 to 7 p.m. Ms. Weinkauf will be available at central office, and board members can come in those windows of time to review the applicants. The only asterisk there is that we don't want to have 4 at the same time, which would be a quorum. So if we can assure that we won't have the quorum, then we don't need a special meeting announced. If there is going to be a quorum, then we need to post, and we're getting very close on advertising for that meeting, so.
yes, 4 to 7. We'll work it out then. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay, well then, yeah, I mean, I know Joe
I'll just
and I,
chase people, just chase
those
people out, right?
that Anthony was working and
Okay.
later, we can come earlier.
4 o'clock.
Okay. And then there's one other thing I wanted to mention, with the mask and vaccination executive order, I was wondering if the board wanted to support the new executive order with the resolution tonight in favor of, making sure the kids are safe and everybody complies within the school district. So we can get something really short to,
Yeah, I would
Written up.
agree that we need to support the mask mandate.
okay, we'll do
The
something during.
variance and everything that's going on is like, with the variance and everything that's going on, yes.
Okay, we'll have our attorney write something really quick up and we'll adopt it during the regular meeting. Okay.
No, but I do have a question. I know that the teachers will be tested, but will they be required to have the vaccine? Because I know where I work, and I'm in healthcare, that
If you don't-
everybody, by October the 7th, I think it is, everybody's has to have the vaccine. Is that the same?
There are two choices, although the news is reporting that there's one, but there's really two. Under the governor's executive order, every teacher has to be vaccinated or submit to at least once a week testing. So it's a strongly worded executive order, but there is that piece where if you don't get tested, you are permitted to, if you don't get vaccinated, you're permitted to submit to testing at least once a week. You're required. If you're permitted to not be vaccinated, but then you have to submit to testing at least once a week.
Sorry. So there's no mandate to have the vaccine by a certain period.
There is a mandate that you either have to have it by October 18th, but if you don't get it by October 18th, you're gonna have to submit to testing at least once a week.
Mr. Sanders, also, we are providing, in partnership with the VNA, 2 vaccination opportunities on the 7th and 8th of September. Again, as the attorney said, it is highly recommended but not required. But if staff so choose, we're giving them the opportunity to get vaccinated on the 7th and 8th. And then we're also working with the VNA to also provide those same opportunities for age eligible and interested families during our back to school night.
But I got a question. My next question is, should we mandate?
We have a mask mandate that upon entering Asbury Park, Asbury Park facilities, that you should have a mask on.
Oh, yeah, the mask is required. But should we mandate our team members to be vaccinated?
We cannot, we have to follow the executive order, and the executive order gives a either or.
Okay.
So that's what we're adhering to.
Because I know that, like I said before, by October 7th, I think it is, everybody at Central State has to have either the vaccine or they won't be employed there.
So again, one of the things that we will be doing here in the district, next week I'll be having a meeting with both the APASA leadership and the APEA leadership to work on the details on how we will manage that from a logistical standpoint for those that have opted not, and that's part of my superintendent's report. So I will reiterate that during that portion. Okay?
Question. You said this September 7th and 8th. Where would that be held at as far as the vaccinations?
Again, that will take place at each of the four building locations. So we will have 4 at the same time in partnership with the VNA.
And as far as the testing, if somebody opts out as far as the vaccination for one reason or another, who's going to be doing the weekly testing?
So again, that was one of the things that we've talked with Executive Superintendent Les Richens. We're also in partnership and communication with the VNA, as well as possible the Monmouth County Health Department, to offer testing. So right now. This executive order just came on Tuesday. We released information to the community on Wednesday. I reiterated that today in another virtual post, as well as we sent out a survey to staff members about the vaccination opportunity, but also reiterating the governor's executive order.
One more question, I'm sorry. Do you know if the vaccination is going to be Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer? Do you know which one it's going to be?
So each of them offer all three for age eligible. Again, there is no vaccination for children under age 12. And so what we'll be offering is what is eligible and approved by the CDC and what is approved for those three vaccinations. Again, for those that choose to. We are not issuing a vaccination mandate. We are offering the opportunity for those that would like to get vaccinated. And again, I will have some public commentary on that during the superintendent's report.
Any other questions? The public participation part, in accordance with our board policy 0167, please state your name and your address. And you have 3 minutes. Somebody would like to speak?
We do also have 2 emails, it looks like.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, hello. My name is LaShawn Anderson Bray. And I'm here at this meeting because I want to know, what plans do you effectively have in order to make sure that these children are going to be safe when other schools are closing? Because even at a meeting, and as you all are sitting up here, you're not 6 feet apart. My daughter doesn't feel comfortable going to school, and in 2015, being in the hands of school, she was sent home unresponsive and was in ICU for 3 weeks, and this was prior to a pandemic. You all didn't know what was wrong with her, you couldn't tell me, and I just don't feel comfortable with her in school. What are you going to do at PE? How many children are going to be in one class? Are you going to cut the desk in half? I mean, how can you guarantee that no one at school is going to contract it or pass it along? Do any of you have school-age children that you have to worry about that's going to school? Because this is a choice, right? So if some children can't be in school, what type of home instruction plan do you have?
Well, thank you for your question, ma'am. We will be following the executive order by the governor, and there is no virtual option that is being offered in the state at this time. So we are returning to full in-person instruction. To address the first comment about the social distancing, we're following the CDC guidelines in terms of social distancing recommendations and guidelines, which is presently at 3 feet. We have been consistent with our electrostatic cleaning, as well as all of our other health precautions. As you heard me earlier mention about the mask mandate, we are and have been communicating that out on various social media platforms, as well as offering vaccination opportunities going back to earlier this month. So in terms of what we will be offering, in terms of our instructional programs, it will be our traditional in-person instructional programs for our students. We're trying to get back to as normal as possible. But again, our guidelines are following the executive orders by the governor, as well as the health and safety precautions.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. How am I a parent to feel safe sending my daughter to school when prior to this pandemic being in you all's care, you sent her home unresponsive and she was in ICU for 3 weeks? So now that something deadly is going on, I don't want to be a parent to have to get a phone call and then you guys only have to give me is you're sorry, or like, no, I don't even want to bury a child.
I think that what you might want to do is have a conversation with Dr. Adams after the meeting, or contact him tomorrow and continue your conversation so he can understand your situation a little bit better.
Okay.
And you guys can talk back and forth. How's that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else want to come up? Is one individual going to speak for the group?
Yeah, I got
Is that what's
you.
gonna happen? Okay, just state your name and your address.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Elijah Drake, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Asbury Park High School football team. So it has come to our attention that when you say we're not allowed to wear our new home jerseys, and we have been getting kicked out of the locker room, and we feel like we worked real hard, and this opportunity is being taken away from us.
Thank you. I'm sure Dr. Adams will have a conversation regarding your concerns.
So gentlemen, I don't want you to leave here without addressing that. In terms of the uniform issue, that is a policy situation that is a little bit right now that we'll be taking up with the athletic committee. Again, you all are byproducts of that situation. And it's unfortunate that as players, you've been practicing all summer, getting ready for the season opener, and this unfortunate adult situation was not handled properly. And so you all are collateral individuals in this, and I do apologize to you on that behalf, but this situation related to the uniforms will be handled in the athletic committee to be addressed later. And so that's as much as information that I can respond to that regarding that, because that is something that has recently come to our attention.
Also, I have another question. What about the locker room situation?
Can you elaborate on what you're asking about?
Yes. They say we're not allowed in the locker room, and not even for our first game. We just want to know what's up with that.
Dr. Adams or Mr. Hastings, you want to address the structural issues?
So the stadium, over the course of numerous years, has had issues with water leaking, and I'm sure some of the players here have seen the water leaking come in and see the puddles on the floor and that sort of thing. The district is addressing the damage that's been done, the expansion joints in the stadium that's allowing water to leak in. But what's happened over time is you're getting concrete that's loose. So you have all seen the netting that was put up over the past 2 weeks around the outside of the stadium and sort of under the arches. And that is there to catch anything that might come loose. And that's obviously a safety issue. The next step for the buildings and grounds supervisor is to look inside the stadium. So in the locker room areas, we all get changed and get ready for games and talk to the coaches and plays and all those sorts of things. That's being looked at to see what we can do to make sure it's safe for you to be in there. So that's going to be addressed over the next week, whether it's to add netting inside the stadium to allow anything that may fall to be caught. So that's where we stand with that right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry? I can't,
like
speaking to the mic, I can't hear you.
Come back to the jerseys and the locker room.
Could you just state your name and address?
Yazir Johnson. I live in Stephen Manor.
Let's hear your football voice. I can't hear you.
It's talking.
There you go. We want to hear you.
About the jersey situation. I feel as though there's more problems going on in the school district and everywhere else for y'all just to not let us wear our jerseys and you feel me? Like,
I feel you. Like, I understand.
there's more problems going on. Like, where we from, school district, like, way more bigger problems than not letting us wear our jerseys, going out locker rooms. Like, it seems like y'all just trying to take everything away from us. Like, what do we have left? Like, we barely can use our locker rooms. Like, not trying to let us use the other locker rooms inside the school. Like, we in the female locker room. Like, this is like.
Young man, I understand your concern, but our concern is with your safety. And if we have to do an evaluation of your locker room to make sure you're safe, that's what we have to do. We don't want anybody to get hurt. Okay, so until we get an answer about the condition of the locker room, they'll review it, and then you'll find out what the outcome is. Nobody's trying to take anything away from you, okay?
Like this is like the locker room situation, like that been going on for a while. But, so like, why did y'all just choose to take the locker room away now? And this been going on for years.
I understand. We understand your concern. The board is, a supporter of the football team, supporter of sports. We want you to be able to play and enjoy your activity safely. Does anybody else have a question? Excuse me. Is there another question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question. So
Can you state your name and your address?
My name is Catherine Miller, and I'd rather not say my address because you never know who can be listening. But I have a question. So with all these changes that's going on, even with their locker room and some other stuff, with the jerseys or whatever, are these kids going to have a season? Is this something to look forward to or not?
Oh, certainly. They already had their first scrimmage against Burlington. I was out there watching them. They look great. Sure, there's a season. Nobody's canceling football.
Okay.
So I don't want anybody to think that's happening. Unless something happens and it's an executive order comes down and, we have no control over that. But football's football, and everybody else is going to be playing their sports.
And there was some other stuff that I heard that's possibly like there might be taking the field. Is that something that's an issue?
Please don't listen to rumors.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Definitely. If you have a question, please address it with somebody in the administration, whether it's Dr. Adams, and
If I could just, because this is a statewide, I represent a lot of school districts around the whole state, and I know there's a lot of concern about sports because there's been issues, of course, since COVID began with sports. But the only thing that could potentially create an issue for your team would be if some kids get sick, right? If there's a outbreak on the team of some sort. And that's, again, same reason that the locker room is an issue at this very moment, although hopefully it won't be for a long time. It's just about the safety of the kids on the team. But, I think the state, from what I'm seeing on a policy standpoint, is highly supportive of kids because it's been such a difficult time for them over these last couple of years playing sports and obviously being outside as much as possible. So, yes, I think you probably have a whole season to look forward to. The only thing just to, this is just the law telling us what to do, is if you had some sort of sickness issue on the team, and obviously that would have to be dealt with by your school district.
Okay, one more question. Well, one more rumor. All right, so I just want to be clear. So another rumor I heard is possibly we're looking forward to like losing one of our coaches, but I feel like, our coaches is like what keeps these kids focused, and they have good relationships with them, and them kids that don't have like fatherly figures, that's where the coaches step in at.
So, ma'am, to answer that, one, we don't make comments on personnel.
Okay.
But two, that has not been any conversation remotely that we've had about any staffing, coaches, or whatever. And I would caution you to not necessarily follow that rabbit down an unknown path.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming up.
It's still on? It's still on? Yeah, my name is Javon King. I ain't gonna put my address. I wanted to really ask, like, what's the point of taking everything away from us when we don't really have anything like that? You literally take everything away from us. The only thing we really have is us. We go through a lot. We do everything by ourselves.
So the season is still intact.
We plan on is us, but other than that, it's like you take everything away from us. We can't really do nothing besides be us.
May I?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Another one.
Is that a comment or you? Go ahead.
I was wanting to ask, like, is there any type of way that we could be able to wear the jerseys or the outfits, anything?
We have to follow the board policy and procedures. Again, that will go back into the athletic committee. As far as removing and taking things away from you all, that is not something, the season is still intact. Your practice and all of those things are still effectively ongoing, and your season is upcoming. So right now, I think as players. You guys had a great scrimmage this past week, and that's where the focus and energy that you all can control should be placed back on. There are other things that are outside of your control that are more adult issues, and those will be handled through committee. But I want to implore you men to focus on the season ahead, your next upcoming, your first game, and that's what we would, like to see your efforts placed upon.
Okay, so I also got another one. Basically, the baseball team has, I'm possibly sure they have new jerseys also. And, right? Yeah, they have gray jerseys also as how we have our gray jerseys. So it's like, are we the only ones getting talked to?
So let me say that this is unfortunate that particular issues are not handled properly. And that's the reason why I'm sending it back to the athletic committee, which is supposed to and will be handling that the proper way so that you all and students won't be impacted by these type of decisions in the future. Again, it's unfortunate, but we are handling that in the athletic committee on the board. So that way it is following the proper procedures. And again, that way you or any future students won't have to endure this level of frustration about things that are and should be handled by the adults. So I do apologize for that, but we have to send that issue and that matter back to the committees to handle.
Also, our helmets are gray. Like, our helmets are matte gray. So what are we going to do with our helmets? Even if we can't even rock out with our uniforms on. So what are we going to do with our helmets? All black and gray helmets with all black. That don't even go.
Thank you. Understood.
May I say something? Gentlemen, before you leave, one thing that I would want to say to you is this. Young man, get your walk over here. I want you to hear what I have to say. You guys came here today about your concern. You have used your power by using your voice, coming here and stating your concerns politely, and this is what we need you to do throughout the year, to use your voice, to ask questions. We're here and we're working for you. But just like with football, if somebody is going against the rules, right? What happens? They do a foul, then you lose a point. I'm not real big into football, but there's rules in playing football, right?
Yeah.
And everybody got to follow those rules. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're here on this board, and we have to follow rules too, because there's people above us that we have to follow and tell us what to do. So I'm encouraging you to continue to come here and share your concerns with us so that we can work to resolve them.
Yeah, I got one more question. Well, I just need some clarity. So the only problem with our locker room is that there's water leaking.
It's structural. It's more than just water. It's cement could fall. So until we know exactly what's going on, we can't let you use it, okay? And that's a safety thing.
What if someone got hurt? We knew there was what if the district knew there was a problem, right? And then you didn't fix it, and then one of you guys got hurt. We would be responsible for that. So that's what's happening right now. We're having people who know more than we do look into this, who's a professional, so that they can make sure that no one could get hurt in there. That's the only thing we're doing.
So where will we begin to change that then? If we can't go in our locker room, back in the females' locker room?
I'm sure that there'll be arrangements made, okay, and you'll find out as soon as, you have to change. You'll be good.
But now they're saying
there'll be arrangements. You should know already. I'm sure there'll be arrangements made. You're not going to be changing in the middle of the field or anything like that.
So where are we going to change that? Because now they're trying to kick us out of the female locker room. We have nowhere else to change.
I'm sure the coaches and the athletic director are already speaking about what you're going to be doing.
Gentlemen,
the board isn't going to be the one to make that decision.
I will be having a conversation with the staff that oversee that in terms of the coaching staff and the athletic director to make sure that those accommodations for you are handled.
Like we were saying, you said that we would be getting hurt in the locker room or whatever, or something like that. I'm sorry for how I'm talking. But the locker room's been like this for years. How come we didn't get it fixed? Talk about now we might get hurt. We could have been hurt years ago. How come now it's just all of a sudden?
It's being.
That you said that we could get hurt.
Excuse me, young man, we're not going to have a debate about the safety
It's not a debate.
of all of
It's not a
you.
debate.
Okay, right now, we're concerned about the safety of the locker room.
It's a question.
Until-
How come you didn't fix it
I
years
understand,
ago?
and I appreciate everything you're saying. But
Okay,
it's
thank
being
you,
addressed,
thank you,
okay?
thank
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good night, gentlemen. Is there anyone else for public comment? I'm going to close the
We
public
do
comment.
have some emails,
Oh, we do have emails.
yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Hastings.
Our first email is from Miss Victoria Maitland. My name is Victoria Maitland. My 3 kids go to the Bradley School. Last year, the board approved to get rid of the art class in all elementary schools, so my kids don't have art. Last week, the new superintendent told the community that visual art classes were not cut. Was this a lie, or does this mean that you're approving that art be brought back to the schools now?
So to answer that question, one of the things that we have offered, and I did, if you follow me on ASP_Adams, I actually posted today regarding our visual and performing arts offerings as a district. We may have had personnel cuts, however, our programs for our arts, and just to kind of give you our fine arts and music as elective in 7th and 8th grade, fine arts in 4th through 12th. We have integrated art K through 12 in various forms. We have our Lake House music program. We have our music and music theory and band and chorus. So we do have visual and performing arts in our district.
The second email we have is from Miss Maureen Casey from Brick. My name is Maureen Casey. I'm still currently the APEA grievance chairperson and still very involved with district employees. As I look at tonight's agenda and as I get phone calls from those that I still represent, I have to ask, and yes, I am aware that the district has the right to transfer staff. However, during this critical time, how do some staff still not receive the courtesy of a phone call about that transfer? Staff spend their own money and get excited to prepare their classrooms only to be told that they are being moved. I have begged for years that the district get a better handle on student population and needs earlier so that staff can be placed appropriately by the end of the previous school year. Yet I continuously hear Genesis wasn't updated properly or rolled over properly when the CST works tirelessly to hand in projections in a timely manner. It saddens me to hear that money is spent on staff to have them properly trained to work with a particular population, only to have them transferred. On my exit paperwork and in conversations with many of you, I have begged that you get to know your staff and students on a more intelligent level. Please know that I haven't left in body or heart and am still here for my students, even though I am retired. With constant administrative turnover and dropping the ball, it is so hard for consistency for our students to be successful and for our staff to feel respected. Please reach out to those people in the trenches and stop worrying about social media, tweets, articles, politics. I beg you.
Thank you. Any other comments from anybody? No? I'm going to close the public participation period. Yeah, I guess. Okay, what we're going to do is open up the regular meeting, have public comments, and then we're going to go in executive session for a short time and then come back and do the regular agenda. Need a timeout?
Just for a second.
The consultant, I believe his name is Chris Dermott. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to bring up the consultant that we had tabled at our last meeting, Chris Dermott. How do I pronounce his name? And I want that to be placed on our meeting for our regular meeting. How do I do that?
That's a personnel issue. The superintendent's the only one that could put that on the agenda. We can't do that. It's not a board role. Talk about
So can we do that?
We'd have to talk about it in athletics again. If that's an athletic or a curriculum issue, it wasn't brought up in any of the committees this month. You can ask to be brought up in a committee for next month if you want.
But I thought we could bring it up here and.
You want to refer to committee, you can. Is that what you want to do? Which kind of consultant is it?
He was an athletic consultant that basically gave our children a better chance of getting in D1 schools.
Is that what she's referring to? Mr. Grillo had tabled it at last month's meeting.
So it was
Okay.
it was on the agenda.
All right, it wasn't brought back to the committee. I don't think it was discussed in committee again.
It wasn't brought back to committee at all, but it was on the agenda for.
Yes.
We can do it for next month. We'll bring it back to committee, have a discussion about it. I guess Mr. Grillo may have a comment about it. That's why he wanted to table it. I know I wanted to table it also.
Mr. Grillo is running late, but he's on his way.
Okay.
So how do we put that on the agenda for tonight?
So what is it that we're looking to discuss? The issue of whether or not to approve a consultant?
Yeah, to basically approve a consultant, basically. That's all it was.
Well, you
And
can,
it was like, I think it was like 45,000.
But we don't have any information in front of us again. His resume, wasn't it a resume and there was something else that was?
It was tabled because like people wanted to do research and make sure that.
should be referred to.
Okay, we didn't have any of the information. We haven't had any of the information brought to us.
It probably should be referred, I mean, I
Yeah, refer
hope
to the
I'm not speaking out of term here, but it probably should be referred, you have an athletic committee, right, in this district?
That's what
Yeah,
what I was saying.
right, so that's, I know, I just want to make sure that it's a board athletic committee, correct? So maybe the athletic committee can review it and then report, like
But
you guys, that way you can make a recommendation as to an agenda item. The problem is that with a consultant, because it's a payment issue, because you got to pay somebody for their work, you'd have to put all the terms of exactly what it is you're doing. So you can't just like, I approve a consultant, it's got to be, I approve a consultant at this rate for this many times or this amount, like that kind of stuff. That's important. And we can certainly have that discussion, but you might get more done in a smaller and less, less formal environment, if that makes sense.
But it was my understanding that this all was vetted through the athletic committee. And I
No,
could
it
be
wasn't.
wrong.
It was not
I
vetted
could be
through
wrong.
athletics.
Okay. Okay, so it's only about a process, correct?
Right now, it's about the process
All right.
of bringing it back.
Nah, I thought it did go through.
It didn't go through
So,
athletics.
thought it went
nothing came
through.
through the athletic committee. There was nothing brought to the
Because
athletic
it ended
committee.
up
There was-
becoming on this to the whole
Nothing was
board.
brought to us.
Well, I believe it was on the agenda.
Yeah, if it made it to agenda, so that means.
Yeah, but it wasn't brought to
That's
the athletic committee.
that's my
No, it was,
understanding.
I don't know how, whatever happened that with the committee, but it was on the agenda and Joe had questions about it
Yeah.
and he
And I
tabled it.
I had questions.
So, and you had questions about it, so it was on the agenda.
Right.
No, I know.
And
Nothing was.
if it was on the agenda, it means.
Can I just say we'll refer it back to the athletic committee? If there's information that then needs to be vetted through the committee again, if there's any questions that any of the board members had regarding the issue we tabled, please forward it to the committee chair so that it can be reviewed.
Okay, I would have to respectfully disagree with that because it was on the agenda last month.
It
And so
never,
therefore, So therefore, that being said, it was vetted through the proper channels. So therefore, it was on the agenda for our meeting last month. So with everyone doing their research or whatever it may be, I think that we could move forward with that. And if the school board.
All right, right now, I understand your situation, I understand your concern, I understand what you're saying, but right now, as a sitting vice president, I don't want to put it on the agenda. It was not vetted to athletics. There were questions that weren't answered. Nothing was forwarded to any of the committees for review. So I don't want to put it on the agenda today, but we can go through it for next month.
You know what? Let's just discuss it in an executive session.
And it's not it's not an executive session discussion.
I think we need to figure out this understanding, because now I'm confused. If something goes through committee and then it ends up on this agenda, shouldn't it move forward?
But can I say something? It never went through the committee.
Okay.
How did it get on the agenda?
Yeah,
I
so how
can't
did it
answer
get
that
to
because
the
it never came through the athletic chair. It was never discussed in committee, okay? We have a meeting on Monday. It'll be discussed on Monday.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. It was tabled, so it can't go.
But the thing about it is, it just can't be. This is a board. So therefore, there's got to be a way to vet this out. It might not be in public, but I'm saying like this. There's got to be a way to vet this out and just have a discussion tonight that would suffice everybody's concerns. Not necessarily obstructions, but concerns, and move forward.
So let me just answer this.
Procedurally.
Yeah. So there's
and that's the thing. But I want to be procedural.
Yeah.
And that's why I say concern.
So it can legally be done. We could do a lot here. We're a board, like you said. So the board could adopt something tonight if you wanted. That's why you have an attorney. If I had to write something, I'm happy to. If that's what the board wants to do.
In the right direction.
Right.
I don't want to mess up.
We could do it if we want, but you have internal procedures, and the reason that you have internal procedures is designed to ensure that there are as few surprises as possible as a Board of Education, and that things are efficient and streamlined and everything else. You know that because you guys are very strong, more than most boards, about your committee system and your structures and your chairs and the way things work and how things end up on the agenda. So it really comes down to whether or not the board, as an entity, wants to address this tonight as a add to the agenda, an addition to the agenda, or whether you want to kick it back to Monday's athletic committee meeting for consideration and discussion in a less formal environment, one where there's not a quorum of the board present and it can be properly discussed among people across the table from each other, as opposed to here. Now you're across the table, but it's more structured. It's run by Robert's rules. Your committee system is not quite like that. That's one of the reasons that the committee system is part of your procedure, because it's easier to talk to people and get things done, work things out, change things when you're in a committee, and that's what brings it to the board. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that the procedure is designed to prevent, the last minute. I'm not suggesting it's the last minute because I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know how this worked, but it's designed to prevent the stuff that hasn't been vetted. If it has or hasn't, I don't know. I have no knowledge of that in particular. I'm just speaking to the process.
Mr. LaRocca?
Nothing.
Mr. Saunders?
It's just my thought that if it was on the agenda last month and
Move next to the mic.
I'm sorry.
Move close to the mic.
Okay. And I'm soft spoken, so and I really, if it was on the agenda of last month, why can't it be on the agenda for this month? if we voted up or down, I just believe that if a board member suggests that it should be on the agenda, that's what it should be happening. And it's not just me. It would be multiple board members.
Okay, it wasn't.
And I'm not saying that I'm right with.
No, I understand that. I don't know what the urgency is. If it's next month, it's next month. I don't understand. Is there some urgency that it has to be done tonight? Is somebody under some order to do it? I don't understand. No, I know. It's just, you just brought it up. Did you mention it to the board president today at all? That you wanted to bring this to her attention and put it on the agenda?
She would have brought it up tonight, but because.
Did you have a discussion with Dr. Adams and Mr. Hastings?
No, I've never had a discussion with Dr. Adams, and that's true.
So here's the other option, and whether you could always it's Robert's rules here, right? So any board member could always make a motion to add it to the agenda, right?
Exactly.
So if you want to make a motion to add it to the agenda at the appropriate time, and the president has to decide the appropriate time, but you could make a motion.
And that was my point.
And you could get a second. You have to get a second for the motion, and then you would have a vote on whether or not it should be added to the agenda. And then we can decide what we're doing with it. If it passes, then it's on the agenda, and then we've got to figure out what we're going to do. If it doesn't pass, then it either goes to committee or it doesn't. That's up to the board.
My whole thing is to give the kids a better choice. And that's my bottom line. Like, for instance, I went to Seton Hall, which is a very good school. I had good grades. I did the best. These kids sometimes don't have the choice. And I am a proponent of giving them the best options. And sometimes you have to give them, not necessarily, give them the systems that they need in place for them to do better. I had the tools. Some kids don't have the tools. I had the tools. My mother and father, they had their issues or whatever, and they made sure that I had good grades. Every day, when report cards came out, I was concerned about making A's, not B's, not C's. I was concerned about making A's all the time. And I want the kids to have the same options. And that's my thing.
No, I understand. Do you have a resolution that has the account number you want to take it out of, that Mr. Hastings has approved for the budget? Do you have the scope of the duties of the individual? Do you have the resolution from last month in front of you that we could?
No, I don't have all that, no.
Okay.
I cannot say I don't have all that.
So wouldn't it be better to do it the proper way and get it written right and make sure the budget line item's there, because it has to come out of somebody's budget?
But wouldn't it have been on the budget on,
The problem last month it was a different budget.
It was a different budget.
I think that, I don't know if the budget, the line item.
No. I mean, like, when you do budgets, right?
But do you have the information?
No. When you do budgets, right, you have line items. And for my budget, I have a $45 million budget. And each month, I have, let's say for instance, I have repairs, I have staffing, I have whatever. But wouldn't that have been part of it initially, or no?
There was a line item, I don't know what it was in June, was it?
No, it was last month.
Was it last? Was it last month?
It was last month.
So if we don't have the information, do we have the information in front of us? So we can discuss it. I don't have any information, I don't have what it was all about.
Mr. Sanders, that was June's meeting? It was June, not last month, in which you're referring.
And I may be mistaken.
No, I understand, sir. But it was June's meeting that item that you're particularly talking about. That was June.
So, but wouldn't that have been a line item at that point? I don't know.
Can I just for a minute, can we adjourn our work session? We can continue the conversation. We were supposed to start our public session at 7 o'clock, and we should be adjourning our work session. Okay, and someone made a motion. Can we adjourn the work session?
You would ask for a motion, I don't think.
Yeah, a motion to adjourn the work session? Who's second? All in favor? Aye. You want to take just 5 minutes? And then we'll start the public session? In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, PL 1975, C231, S1 amended 2006, C70, S2. Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending notice of time, date, and location to the extent known the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press, the New Coaster, on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed in the Administrative Building, Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, filed with the City Clerk on January 8th, 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skills and character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Thank you. I'm here. Thank
Ms. Breeds? Ms. Cook? Mr. Grillo? Mr. LaRocca?
Here.
Mr. Remy?
Here.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Here.
Ms. Etienne?
Stand for the flag salute. We're going to skip to public comment, the participation part, Board Policy 0167. If anybody would like to ask a question, make a comment, please come to the mic. State your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Lyons. I'm resident of 1701 Ocean Avenue. And first of all, I'd like to say good evening and thank you to Mr. Ruiz and his assistant in meeting with myself and one of my colleagues from our resident with the question concerning the curriculum and did it consist of the Amistad curriculum. And we were thoroughly impressed and pleased that it has been implemented. It is working, and we're looking forward to our students even being educated fully with the truth of what has transpired in the past. Tonight, my question is directed to you in regards to our COVID-19 consideration for our students as well as the staff, the teaching staff. What do we have in place concerning starting this new school year? Should we be full-time in the buildings, the facilities? What is done? What is going to be done concerning the children and the teaching staff in regards to their temperature taking, I don't know, but I'm asking what is in place for our school district. Thank you.
Dr. Adams, you want to briefly just go over it real quick?
Thank you, ma'am, for your question, and thank you for coming to meet me, Mr. Ruiz. I know following your meeting, he indicated it was very productive and enlightening to you and your colleagues. And so, we thank you for your care. With respect to your second question regarding our COVID plans, one of the things that we've had to do as part of the state is our Road to Return plan, which you can find that on our district's website. It lays out all of the particular mitigations that we have had to provide to the state. That's on a documented level, right? On a more personal level, one of the things that we have done over the course of my time and getting ready to open up is we've provided back in August, and this upcoming the 30th will be the second, we provided a vaccination clinic with the Monmouth County Health Department back in the early part of this month. We've documented and required masks in all of our buildings. You'll see the signage. We've been consistent with that since the beginning, and that's also in our Road to Return plan. In July, I reiterated the mask requirement, not only during the summer, but for our summer school students and throughout. We've reiterated that we are coming back full time with our staff and students. So now everyone is aware of the mask mandate. This past week, as I indicated earlier, the governor issued a second executive order regarding vaccinations and or testing. And so we're working in collaboration with another community partner, the VNA of Central Jersey, to provide vaccination opportunities not only for our staff on our convocation afternoon, which is September 7th, which will be in person, but when the staff return to individual schools, they will have 4 different locations where the VNA will come on site to do and administer vaccinations for all of those staff members that choose to do so. We're also going to be providing that same service on September 8th to staff. Then we're also going to be providing again on our back to school night for our upper elementary school, grade 6, as well as our high school on the 28th, I believe. And if I'm incorrect, both of those back to school nights, one is on the 27th and one is on the 28th, to those families. Again, what we have been trying to do is to provide access to health information and resources that are here in the city of Asbury Park to help our community stay safe. That's on the vaccination and the mask side. In terms of our cleanliness procedures, we have been on the forefront, like all other districts, with electrostatic cleaning, ongoing every day, multiple times a day, and wiping down common areas, practicing social distancing. So all of the expectations in terms of mitigating the spread of COVID-19 and even the Delta variant, we have been out front, very vocal, and trying to find and provide resources to the community. So I am confident that we will continue those same steps and procedures as we get ready to return. I will be walking the buildings tomorrow to do building inspections. We've done other building inspections. We've replaced several other things to make sure that when our students return on September the 9th, Thursday, September the 9th, that our buildings are ready, prepared to receive them, and that we will be beginning instruction on day 1.
Thank you. Also, what was crossing my mind as you were sharing this very important information, and I'm pleased to hear that those things are being done. When these students arrive that first day, will there be a taking of temperature with them? Okay, that's what I was concerned about. The actual students coming in.
So one of the requirements is for staff. We've been working and having a procedure in place whereby staff will signing in terms of procedurally, affirm that they are not, COVID positive and the same like. And we were following the same procedure with our students in terms of the the health check-in in the morning, that parents, if their children are ill, they will keep them home. We don't do contact tracing. That's been something that has been consistent with the Monmouth County Health Department. We still will be adhering to that. In terms of the daily check-in, we will be following that procedure with our school nurses and our school administrators. So we still will be adhering to that. We will be much more consistent. Again, this is all evolving and it's ever changing. Right. So we want to be cognizant of that. We know that we can do better. We are focused on continuing to improve the process, but we want to make sure that we're transparent in making sure that individuals know what the process is and how we intend to adhere to it.
Okay, because I was concerned about the families being educated with the fact of what is expected of the parents, the guardians, in sending their children, and then with us being in place at the facilities to, see that they are well and able to come into the building. So thank you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your comment and your questions.
Anyone else? Any comments, Mr. Hastings? No? I'm going to close the public comment. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act allows for exclusion from discussion at the public portion of a meeting of certain matters as outlined below, and whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters made and will be made such discussion public when a proper conclusion has been reached, now therefore be it resolved that on August 26, 2021, the Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purposes of personnel, if that's it, right? Personnel issue? And that's it. Personnel.
Personnel and I understand litigation. Mr. Maddox here.
Personnel and litigation. I do not know if action will be taken, so I'll just say action may be taken. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Go ahead, roll call. Or do you want to, all in favor? Any opposed? Will be probably about 15 minutes, I would imagine, maybe 20 minutes. Public roll call, Mr. Hastings?
Sabas Anderson. Ms. Breach. Ms. Cook. Mr. Grillo.
Here.
Mr. LaRocca.
Here.
Mr. Remy.
Here.
Mr. Saunders. Ms. Lozinski. And Ms.
Here.
Etienne.
Are there any presentations tonight, Dr. Adams?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to thank the board. We're about approximately 12 work days into returning into session. Just a couple of updates about where we are and what's going on. As I said last month at our July board meeting, I will be holding listening and learning sessions. Earlier this month, I had the second listening and learning session. The third is scheduled for September the 21st. I've been providing updates to the board about what's going on weekly, as well as publishing the Blue Bushet Bulletin. On the Blue Bushet Bulletin, which is on our website, is a weekly update about what's going on and providing transparency to the community. One of the things which is a highlight this September, in collaboration with our C&I department in our new grade configuration, we will be moving to have a district-wide gifted and talented program, which will be the first in a long time, to my recollection, having a full district gifted and talented program starting in grades 3 and culminating with our Dream Academy program in grade 12, along with our other College Promise programs, our CTE programs, and our partnerships. So I'm very happy and proud to say that we'll be launching that this September. Along with our gifted and talented program, another opportunity that we have is continuing to foster our partnerships with our local community healthcare professionals, whether it be the Monmouth County Health Department or the VNA. They've been very cooperative and supportive in providing vaccinations as well as testing within the community. We know that we have a low percentage in our community, and with our intention and expectation to come back full in person, we've been very clear in communicating that out to the community on a regular basis. I wanted to also address some of our program offerings. As I mentioned in our first public comment section, we've been trying to be very transparent about our offerings. We've been consistent with publicizing on our social media as well as our placards around the city to make sure that our registration is available and accessible to our community members, as well as our offerings. One of the things that I have been adamant about is that we in Asbury may have challenges. However, we have the access and the opportunity to have success. We have and provide, regardless of our estimated $5 million projected budget loss, and over the last few years and going up to $24 million, we may have had to reduce staff, but we have not reduced our program offerings for our students. We have tightened our purse strings with Mr. Hastings and Ms. Brown in the business department, along with the guidance of the board. But some of our offerings that I think we need to clarify and promote, again, is our music and visual and performing arts programs that we offer here in the district. We offer chorus, we offer band, we offer music technology, we offer music as an elective, fine art, music and as a special, music and art as a special, integrated music. We have partnerships with the Disney musical in our schools. However, we've had to go on hiatus with them due to the COVID pandemic. We have our partnership with NJPAC, which does our third grade recording program. Again, another program that was placed on hold due to the pandemic, but we will be relaunching this school year. We have our community partnership with Lake House Music Academy and the Asbury Park Music Foundation. And so we offer a plethora of music, visual, and performing arts to this community. We are hoping to continue some of those partnerships. We are in partnership and in communication with some of our local trade professionals to offer some of those offerings to our students. And I would be remiss if I did not discuss our CTE programs at our high school, which we begin offering our students in grade 7, and it finishes through 12. And so earlier, our students here came up and discuss their concerns. Again, I want to implore the community to understand that we appreciate that level of self-advocacy of our students, and it goes to our social emotional program offering. Our students express their concerns, they maintained their composure, they were articulate, and yet they required and demanded answers from the adults. And that's all that we can do to continue to promote that type of response, particularly from all group of young Black men who stood at that podium and expressed themselves. And we would be remiss to not say that they were not perceived as angry. They were passionate about what they felt was a wrong or issues that they felt they were being slighted. And so I want to, again, publicly commend those young men on the football team for coming up and speaking without an adult representative, but representing themselves, regardless if they understood the dynamic of all of the interworkings. And so this is a reflection of what and how we are promoting student advocacy through our social emotional programs. And again, that is our presentation. September, we will have our presentation on our gifted and talented program for the board. For my first September presentation, but we will have our formal September presentation on our district-wide gifted and talented program.
Awesome, thank you.
Dr. Adams, I had a question, if it's okay to speak right now.
You may speak, Mr. Grillo.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I got something in my throat. With the gifted and talented program, are we going to learn more details about kind of the curriculum and how all that kind of shakes out in the next couple months?
Yes, one of the criteria that we looked at in response to our students being in the Dream Academy and the Dream Scholar program was chunking the NJSLA standards to ensure that our students were receiving the standard level and the rigor connected to being able to pass the Acuplacer by the time they finished 8th grade. We also recognize that we have been focusing on remediation for quite a while, and we have not provided enough offerings for our students who are academically excelling. Again, contrary to popular belief, not all students in Asbury Park are reading 12 grades below, beginning in kindergarten. Contrary to popular belief, the students in Asbury Park are not all poor. Contrary to popular belief, our students are capable of excelling and exceeding, which was evident of us graduating our second cohort of students from the Dream Academy program, which got their associate's degree from Brookdale before their high school diploma. And we have 4 more cohorts in the pipeline right now. So that's an indication of the type of academic excellence and offerings that we have, and that we will continue to offer. However, we need to be very mindful that in that presentation, the criteria is not locking students out of that access for opportunity, but it is also making sure that we are building the capacity within our instructional ranks in order to provide the rigor in the instruction that is needed for our students to be successful and confident in taking other standardized assessments.
Any other questions? And the state monitor isn't here tonight. I guess we'll go to acceptance of minutes on A1 and A2.
Hey, for
Yes.
that, I just would like to put on the table, I would like to propose that,
Mr. Sanders, I cannot hear you. You have to speak into
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
mic and make sure it's part of the recording.
I would like to put on the table as, part of our June 24th meeting, there was a proposal that Chris Demery, who, was gonna be a part of the athletic advancement program, be part of the, team. I would like to have that be part of our agenda tonight and put him as part of the team as far as the athletic advancement program, which would be negotiated, pay and all that other stuff would be negotiated would be between Dr. Adams and himself. And I need to put that up to vote.
So you say you want Dr. Adams to negotiate with him
Oh, they would discuss their, the terms.
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so I can put a quick agenda item together if you want.
Yes, please.
So, are you reading from something, Mr. Saunders, that I can look at just to make sure I have the spelling right? Or is there anything there?
No, this is just my notes.
But is there but is there anybody who has, I mean, my understanding is that this was on the June agenda.
It was on June 24th agenda.
Mr. Hastings?
I can look it up. I've got the Google Drive up.
If you do, I would just like to look at it. I mean, at the end of the day, I could just write something that's generic with respect to authorizing the, the superintendent and business administrator to negotiate what is it that's what I was saying to you before. Is it a contract?
It was a 40K year deal, but
because typically we like to be as specific as possible, but when we can't be, we like to put in contingencies so that you guys don't obviously, blow through some sort of budget line item or something. It's a significant, $40,000 is not a small amount of money.
Is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the agenda. Right? You said it was June 24th, right?
it was June 24th meeting. Yes.
Okay. So was there a proposal that was on the agenda specifically that you
Yes.
would just?
It was.
So do you want to just bring up that same agenda item from June 24th, or are you
Yes.
looking?
Let's do that then, and then that will be easier for everyone.
I'm trying to find it. Here it is. Item number 29, page 8 of the June 24th agenda? Yeah.
It was June 24th.
Recommend board approval for Chris Demer's Student Athlete Advancement Program. The program will provide student athletes with the opportunity to be fully prepared to meet the NCAA eligibility center guidelines to be eligible for college athletics.
Just to paraphrase, it's just like they would be able to go to D1 schools and excel.
Okay, and the other, obviously, so this is the, okay, so this is really a conversation, I guess, amongst yourselves as to whether you want to put this on the agenda tonight as
I want
opposed
to put it on the agenda tonight.
The other option is to go to the Monday, I think it was, the discussion was to have it go back to the athletic committee.
My proposal is to put it on the agenda for tonight.
Okay. So is that a motion?
Motion.
Okay. So you would need a second on the motion. So someone would have to second. So Mr. Saunders has made a motion. Is there a second on Mr. Saunders' motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Ramey.
Discussion?
Yes. Again, when that was brought up in June, it was asked to have some type of description, job description, what he was going to do, some type of plan of action, not just a blanket hire somebody without any background information. I have not seen that yet. It has not been to the athletic committee yet. So on my recommendation, I'm saying I want to talk to Mr. Jubino. I'm not going to move forward with it. You guys motioned it. That's fine if you guys voted in, but it's not coming from the athletic standpoint because I didn't see any information that I asked for.
I'd like to make a motion to table because we don't have the information that we need to make an informed decision regarding the duties, background, or any references the individual has. And similar to June. So I'd like to make a motion to table until it gets vetted.
So we have a motion, you have a motion to table now. Is there a second on the motion to table? So now you have a motion. So we have,
Roll call, please.
What do we roll call?
There's no discussion on a motion to table. It has to be a roll call. That's Robert's.
So this is a
I don't
motion.
understand.
There's
Wait,
no
Wasn't there a motion before?
motion to table.
Yeah.
Has to go first.
yeah, so motion, so here's how it works. And we get into some technical Robert rules difficulties here, but you have a main motion, which is the one that Mr. Saunders made, was seconded by Mr. Ramey. That's on the table. And then there's been a motion to remove that from the table, which would now be entertained. You have a motion, you have a second, and then you have a vote on the motion to table. And then we'd be, if it were to pass, you would be basically removing Mr. Saunders' motion off the table again. If it were to fail, it would be here again, and we'd have a discussion on the main motion, which is Mr. Saunders' motion.
So basically, the table is trumps my motion,
That's
and then we'll go from there. Okay.
That's correct.
So right, exactly. Everybody understand? So you know what you're voting on? You're voting on whether or not to table the motion that Mr. Saunders just made and Mr. Ramey seconded.
Roll call, please.
So
wait, hold on. There's a
No,
question.
there's no discussion on a motion to table. There's point of order, unless it's on this procedure, not
Well, then
the issue. It's a vote to table.
To vote to table.
This is the vote to table, right?
Okay.
Mr. Hastings?
Mrs. Zelinski,
I'm just following procedure. Yes.
Ms. Breach, Sabas Anderson,
No.
Mr. Grillo,
no.
Mr. Lattaraco,
Yes.
Mr. Remy,
No.
Mr. Saunders.
No.
Motion to table fails.
There's a discussion on the motion that Mr. Saunders made. Does anybody have any discussion on?
I do. So what I just want to make sure is that everybody on the board is clear of what this recommendation of board approval says, because I found it on the agenda. As I remember, I think I'm the one that tabled it to get some more information. There was some talk about Mr. Demarest himself. I did my own research to see, what this guy's, record is and all kinds of stuff. That checked out. And I just want to make sure that everyone is clear in terms of the actual agenda item and the language that it says. And the only thing that I have that I would hope we would get is a little bit more clarity on the returnables and like what the outputs and outcomes are. But I think that that's something that as long as we set, or as long as we instruct the superintendent to set certain guidelines and certain outputs and outcomes that we expect, then I honestly don't have a problem with it. But I want to make sure that everybody is clear on the actual language that's in the agenda item. Is everybody clear on the language there?
No.
Like in terms of like, does everybody know what it says on the agenda item, or can it be read?
You can read it again, Joe, but it doesn't say too much. It's not clear to me what the duties of the individual, and that's another expression I had 2 months ago.
You know, I mean, I can.
You can read it again. Read it again.
So, well, I read the first part. That's in the record. The second part says the program aids with college admission requirement, FAFSA assistance, scholarship negotiation guidance, and provides professional development sessions for students, parents, guidance staff, teachers, building staff, and direct administrators, contingent upon satisfactory criminal history review. Total cost $40,000, and then it's got the account number. I mean, the job description is there. The only thing that I want is to make sure that there's accountability and transparency in terms of what, you know, who is he reporting to, and who does that person, when does that person report to? I'm assuming the athletics committee.
So I will believe that he will report to the superintendent, because ultimately that.
Mr. Saunders, I can't understand you. I'm sorry. You have to get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. I believe that he would, or she would report to the superintendent, and she would, or he would be accountable to the superintendent at that.
That person would report to the athletic director.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, and the athletic director would also monitor and report up to my office as the director of curriculum instruction, as well as student services, the happenings of that individual. But that will be rolled out and laid out as a direct report to those directors. But more importantly, because it's dealing with academics as well as athletics, it would go between both of those directors. But more importantly, the athletic piece through the athletic director.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say one more thing, and then you guys can vote whatever you want to. But I would not hire anybody without any type of history check. What they've done in the past. Would you hire a superintendent without any type of prior history? What they've accomplished, what type of goals they want to achieve. This gentleman, I don't know anything about. I don't know what he's done in the past. I don't know what his stats are, what his program is. And again, he might be stupendous. I don't know. But I'm not going to recommend somebody that I don't know anything about. I'm not going to blanket.
I would agree with you.
And I'm sorry, that's the way I stand.
Yes, Mr. Lauterocker.
This is, by my count, not the first instance in the last 2 months where issues have arisen from the athletics area that did not go through proper channels and up to the board for consideration. And I find that as an individual board member deeply concerning, and I therefore have significant issues and questions as to why this is happening. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to add, unless somebody has another comment. If I remember correctly, when we discussed this 2 months ago, there was one reference from an individual that had put their title as principal with no letterhead of anywhere that they were employed, and the only thing they said he was a coach. There is no information about his track record, if he's done this somewhere else. I'm not quite sure exactly what he's doing, because it sounds like something that the guidance counselors, the coaches, and all the staff members we have in the school district should be able to do to make sure the athletes, as well as every student in this district, meets the qualifications to go on to college if they wish. So my concern from 2 months ago is I don't know how we're hiring a consultant, because it wasn't something that's something that I guess athletic department decided to present to the board. But why do we need to spend another $40,000 for the duties that should be able to be accomplished in-house? And if I don't know where he's done this before, and I have no references that are considered like legitimate references that actually said that somebody who works in a school district has used him in this capacity, I can't vote. I don't think it's responsible to vote for somebody unless if you have this information. And bypassing committee, I don't like that procedurally, and I think it's a slap in the face to the people who are on those committees. And I'm just telling you, I'm not going to vote for it.
I think that bypassed committee
sets a
because
precedent.
it was on our agenda for.
Mr. Saunders, I did not interrupt you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No,
It sets a
I don't mean no disrespect. I'm
it
sorry.
sets a bad precedence, and I agree with Mr. LaRocca on that, and Ms. Breach. It sets a bad precedence that you're stepping over other board members and other committees. If anybody else
First of all, I want to say I'm sorry for interrupting you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not into.
I appreciate that. No, I know. No offense taken. Anybody else want to make a comment?
I have a comment in terms of the athletic director. What was his final say on it? Or when was the last time that he spoke about this position? Because I remember he had brought it up.
I think it was in the curriculum committee.
It was something odd, right? It
was curriculum,
but
it was curriculum, but the job is not about curriculum, so I'm not quite sure why it was in curriculum.
I think the job is a dual role as far as curriculum and as far as giving the student the best opportunity to get the best scholarships. That's what it's about.
Well, I think you're inferring that you're putting words into the resolution that we don't have it on paper. You're hoping that's what the job entails.
No, but that's what the job entails.
It doesn't say. And where has he worked before, Mr. Saunders, if you know a little bit about him? Do you know where he's done this before? Do you have any information?
I'm not sure.
Any other questions, comments?
Only comment I really have is when you said why it's not done in-house. Like me personally, I know a lot of student athletes that come from Asbury Park, and after they graduate high school, like it's like they become stagnant, and you just see them walking around. You see them outside on the street just chilling, just on the block, just doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They didn't get that opportunity. They didn't get a chance or that exposure that they needed with athletics to go to the next level, to go to higher ed or go to a JUCO or things like that. That's why something like this comes into play. It helps them, it gives them an opportunity to be seen, to, show their talents. But that's all I got to say about that.
I understand that concern, and it's everybody's concern, so I don't know why the board would want to spend $40,000 instead of making sure that the individuals that are responsible in-house do what they're supposed to do to make sure the athletes and all students get to where they want to be. That's all.
I'll say this, if I may. I think that what Mr. Remy was saying was that throughout the years, we have had some talented kids that could play basketball, football, and academically, they weren't prepared to go to college.
Yes.
And so they missed out on opportunities. And they are now young adults or adults that have their children in this district. And the opportunities, they were missed opportunities. because of past failures in this district. I believe that we need to have people that will be in place that will look like our students, that will have their best interest in mind. And so I am in favor of voting for this person.
Thank you for that clarification.
So the resolution, do you want to put anything else in there, Mr. Grillo, for what you're saying about something talking to the superintendent? I'm not quite sure what the add-on was.
For me, I have no problem with it as long as there is that there's accountability and that there's certain metrics that are reached. It can't just be like some blanket. Yeah, he's going to help student athletes go to college. Well, what I'd like to see as part of this is what to make sure that there are certain reportable outcomes that are able to be reported back to the board, to the athletic committee from the athletics director. And I think that's something that we could put into the.
So you want to approve this with the caveat that the superintendent will come back to the board with the details of the.
Or actually have the athletic director.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You can't have the athletic director report directly to the board. I know you weren't necessarily saying that, but.
No, I'm saying
So what you would do is perhaps, you could put an added section in there that requires the board requires some sort of like check-in with you all, with the athletic committee, so that the superintendent shall report on let's just write this down while I'm saying it. The superintendent of schools shall provide an update on the progress. I'm just trying to get the terms to make sure I'm getting what you're all thinking on the progress of. What is the name of this organization again? Does he have an LLC or anything like that? Or is it just him? Is he an independent contractor? Like, I don't really know what he is.
I believe it's just him.
What's Mr. What's his last name again?
Demarest.
How do you spell that?
Demarest.
And how often do you all want, obviously you don't want to, he's a consultant, so how often is a check-in expected among those who are thinking about this amendment?
I would say it's just from my, the way I report at work, I would say quarterly.
Quarterly?
Yes. Are you guys good with that, or? Quarterly too.
Right. But so we have the amount not to exceed. Right. So. Yeah, that's obvious because
I would say every month.
The background check concern is going to be
Mr. Remy just said every month.
I'm sorry, sir. What'd you say?
Once a month. Would that be better than quarterly?
Well, the only thing is, this is it's a significant, usually this once a month check-in like that is a significant amount of work it could be perceived as a lot of work for the district. You could do that, but it's going to require, once you do this, it's got to be done, right? So you're creating a standard perhaps. Maybe it's one of those things where you put quarterly, but then if you have a question, you just call your superintendent or the board will be updated. I'm trying to give you, once you pass something, it has to, in between these meetings, we, and I include myself in this, just my firm with your administrators, we carry out your desires in between your meetings. So when you vote on something, it has like a very significant impact. So let's make sure that we put in the minimum as opposed to, the possible. Like if you want an update once a month, there's no problem with you, calling the superintendent or email and say, hey, Dr. Adams, what's going on with, how are things going? Or when you see him, how are things going? That's fine. But if we're putting it in here, it has to happen. And if it doesn't, then it's a failure to achieve your objective. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, go ahead.
The other thing is this particular role is working with students on meeting certain academic metrics. So a monthly update is not reasonable or, as I would say, academically prudent, because we don't have, and we haven't, his metrics haven't necessarily been laid out through the athletic department and the curriculum and instruction department. So when we start talking about the supports that will be provided, other than some of the services and meetings that will be held, there will be no metrics for you all to get each month. And so we don't do that with other consultants. And so it would be very tedious, and the information that you would get would be minimal in that direction. And so I would caution the board, and the board can, move in any direction that it so pleases. However, if we are talking about services, then we're talking about looking at resources, and that would be in combination with the athletic department as well as our other academic areas and student services from guidance. So therefore, those things have not been flushed out. And we can update the board on those going ons, but as the board so moves, it would be an exercise in frustration to expect something monthly that would be a repeat of minimalism.
Yeah, and I also
would
think,
agree with Dr. Adams.
I also think that putting it on your superintendent, you can do what you want. I think it's better for Mr. Demarest, who is the consultant, just like it would be for us as your board attorney, to report it to you or to report it to your superintendent, who can report it in terms of your athletic committee. So what I would suggest, and you can't, he's a consultant, he's not an employee, so it's a little different under the Ethics Act, but you can't direct your athletic director to do anything. So what I would say is, Mr. Demarest shall provide the superintendent of schools, or I should say, or I could say the superintendent of schools and the athletic committee with an update on the progress of his district work with respect to student academic metrics on a quarterly basis. I mean, that's, obviously.
Okay, Counselor, this is where I'm losing you. What happened to the athletic director doing more work, since this is what got us here to begin with?
Okay, so the athletic director, you as a board can't direct the athletic director to do anything. You can direct your superintendent to do something, and a consultant you can have do something. But having you directing an athletic director is, and this is your action. So that's the issue. But in practically speaking, I presume that Dr. Adams will hold your athletic director accountable for working with this individual as part of his responsibility as athletic director. I just don't want you guys to get into ethics issues by directing employees other than your superintendent of schools to do anything. That's why I left that out.
Thank you. So it's clear the athletic director is responsible for this individual. If this individual does not perform well, it's a reflection on the athletic director. Is that correct?
So I just want to be careful, Mr. LaRocca, in terms of positions and comments. There will be oversight. There will be a proper reporting mechanism put in place if the board so directs me to do so, in the proper form and fashion, to make sure that through the chain of command and the proper organizational structure that we have in the district, that I will report back as I would with all other consultants, either getting updates through committee and or presentations of individuals to the full board about other programs and offerings that we provide and or partnerships and or consultants that we utilize.
And that would be a
That's all I'm asking.
Can I see Mr. Grillo, could you take a picture and maybe text me or something, a picture of the resolution? Just, you know what I'm saying, just so I can.
I gotta find it.
Just so I can write something, because I'm afraid we're going to lose something here in the hastiness of putting this together. So there's a couple of things. I'm concerned about the cost issue. I keep hearing $40,000 number, but I want to make sure that it's an amount not to exceed $40,000. Is there some sort of hourly rate? Like how does?
That's what I was gonna ask. With the accountability regs, was there an hourly rate? Did we do any other consultant, like seek out anybody else? We're supposed to have more than one person, or is it three? What's $40,000? You have to seek other.
Well, sorry. Above $6,600, you need 2 quotes. Over $44,000, we need a bid, or a state contract, or a.
We didn't get 2 quotes on this, did we? So 2 quotes were not received?
Was this something that was, I mean, this ended up on the agenda before, so how did this end up on the agenda last time? Was it flushed to the business office with respect to quotes and everything else?
No. My understanding, it was placed on the agenda and it was tabled by Mr. Grillo because it had not gone through the process to answer these questions that we're all talking about.
But if I'm correct, it went through committee, or no?
No.
No.
I found it. Okay.
Yeah, I have it now. Yeah, Mr. Hastings sent it to me. He had it.
They're quicker fingers than you. I just want to say something in terms of, a lot of people may think that this reporting back to us is, or at least I'm speaking just for myself. So I did the same, I said the same spiel about a different entity that we were, awarding money to a couple of months ago. And I think it's because I really want us to get into the habit of not just giving the money out to a consultant or a contractor and not knowing what happens and just going on faith. And so that's why the reporting back is so important to me personally, as an individual board member. So if I sound like a broken record in the next so many months about specific things reporting back to us where normally they haven't in the past, that's what it is. So I just wanted to make sure that that's understood.
I just want to reemphasize to all the board members, we did not get 2 quotes, which is required. So I just want you to be aware of that when you vote, that we didn't get 2 quotes on whatever this consulting service is, and that's required. So I just want you to know that's a problem. So
I just assumed that it had been vetted in that regard, that it was on the agenda. I have some concerns about the bidding here. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm looking at a couple things here as we're doing it. I'm trying to get you to your objective. It's just.
I mean, if it didn't follow the rules, then we got to go back to the drawing board and get quotes.
Well, right.
now there's a motion on the table and a vote to accept it. When you vote, you'll have to make a decision how you're going to vote.
Or you can or Mr. Saunders can withdraw.
Or you can withdraw your motion.
Yeah. But hold on, I'm just looking at this real quick.
Be 4,000 as opposed to 40,000. You have to get 2 quotes. Am I correct or no?
It's 4,400.
No, you need 2 quotes above $6,600, and from $6,600 to $43,999, it's the 2 quotes, and above $44,000, you're then into the bidding.
Right, unless it's unless it's in the U.S., like an unspecifiable service or competitive contracting or something like that.
Excuse me? Okay.
Mr. Saunders, what do you want to do?
Oh, I'm not getting in trouble for anyone.
Do you want to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion and we can get another quote from someone else.
We'll revert, do what we have to do
I'm not getting in trouble.
Listen, I will just say this, and I can see that there's a desire to to move ahead as much as possible with something like this, maybe even with this guy. I'm saying that just to be very clear about what your desire is. But I want to make sure that as a organization, you obviously don't violate the contracting law, because that's an issue. I mean, not to mention, even if you adopted this with the purchase order and everything else, it could put your business office in jeopardy. So let's just, yeah, right. Let's take a step back here for a second. If this is something that you guys are interested in pursuing, which I think you are. I was sort of reading the room as this was going on. You want to follow the rules, but let's do this in a way that's very safe and legal. So the only thing that would have to happen, I mean, you could authorize him to do work under the $6,600 threshold for now, at an amount not to exceed, and we can, give you $6,600. Is that what it is now? So you could authorize him to do work for a certain amount to begin the work, if that's what you want, or you could just wait until it's all done in as kosher a way as possible, and we can, push this down the line. So your choices now, as a board, are to amend the motion so that it's, you can do a segment now and then potentially more later. Although understand that if the idea is to do something more later, you're still back in the same position where you'd have to solicit bids. You can't award something knowing that it's going to go more now. You're just you're not supposed to do in the first place. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, you can't say that we're going to do $6,600 and then we do $40,000 worth.
Right. You're like, we're going to do $4,000 now. Don't worry, we'll get you your. You can't do that. That's not right.
So Kenneth, you want to be safe and just withdraw it, and then we'll take care of it and get it on the next month agenda if it's vetted, everything's vetted.
But I wanted it on next month's agenda. But the thing about it is right now, Kendall has to eat, so I'm withdrawing.
So you just have to the idea would be that you can just ask your business administrator to get 2 quotes if practicable. The term is if practicable. So if there's a similar type of service, Jeff will find out by sending a message to his listserv, I guess, tomorrow.
Mr. Bush, go ahead.
We would work with BAD because he's familiar with the specifications and such, and would have information and contacts in that arena.
Right.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the agenda. We'll do the acceptance of minutes, A1 and 2, 10A, B, C, and D. Can I have a motion?
Can we also add 11 to the calendar?
All right, 11 to the calendar.
Thank you.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? No? Roll call?
This is a motion for the minutes on A1, 10A through D, and the calendar on A2, 11. Ms. Breach?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo? Yes. Mr. LaRocca? Yes. Mr. Saunders? Yes. Ms. Lozinski?
Yes. I also want to add the mask and vaccination mandate support. Do you have anything written up there?
No, I have to.
Our illustrious.
So is there something you want me to model after in particular? You want to just write a general motion
Just a general motion.
In support of Governor's Executive Order 250, it's either 1 or 3, I forget which one. This has been dealing with this all week.
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. Okay.
Okay. Dr. Adams, you want to do consent agenda?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I would ask for a consent agenda from B1 to B8, including the addenda.
Have a motion? We'll have the motion and second before questions. Mr. LaRocca, go ahead.
Thank you. I think I'd know that by now. Just 2 quick ones. Just a little more, not sure what the in-school suspension jobs are. And one on our acronyms, I should probably know. One of the job descriptions, ISS, is that instructional support position, or what is ISS?
ISS is in-school suspension. Yes. A place you probably never spent, Ms. LaRocca. And so what was your other question, sir?
So it sounds like it's basically just one question. With it,
So,
the in-school suspension jobs, I don't quite follow what those were.
okay. So as you know, we as a district have been moving towards more restorative practices in our approach to handling social emotional issues with our students. And so with us creating the alternative learning lab position at the upper elementary school, which is more consistent with our district direction with handling restorative practices. And at that grade level, we do not suspend students. We are moving towards, like I said, restorative practices as opposed to disciplinary measures. And so with the need at that grade, we have approved in July the alternative learning lab position. That was a job created back in June and so on. And so with the need for the in-school suspension at the appropriate grade level at the high school, that is the reason why we have gone with making those adjustments in our disciplinary handbook and disciplinary structure to support our direction as a district to more restorative practices.
These were positions whereby a staff member would be instructing a student who was in school suspension.
They would be monitoring students.
Ms. Breach?
Quick question, regards to B4, item 5, dealing with the salary adjustments and corrections. With B4, item 5, with the salary adjustments. Now, the STEP program that they have in place, doesn't that go by how many years a person is with the district? Like, is there a reason why, like if it's their first year hired for the district, that they automatically jump up several steps?
Yes, ma'am. That is when those are hard to fill positions and the individuals are coming and making a significant less. And as you know, we try to at least put them as close to, but we have to make some adjustments. And that is the reason why we try to bring those individuals where they are close to their projected salary, but it is a cut nonetheless.
Did we cut a couple high school coaches this year, assistant coaches? Would that be considered a hard to fill position?
Athletic coaches,
Yes.
hard to fill?
Right. Did we cut a couple assistant coaches this year for football? My question is specifically out of F, like we approved that subject for step 1 and now it's adjustment step 3 and you're saying it was a hard to fill position, but we cut 2 of our assistant coaches this year, didn't we?
That was not at the time that I was here. And this area is coming from the athletic committee, correct?
I believe that was a result of the negotiations committee, was it not, when there was one less?
So the negotiations with the APEA did amend the coaching and extracurricular guides as well as some other issues.
Right.
And they moved from 4 steps plus an off guides to 3 steps. So step 1, step 2, step 3 at the top for salaries. And that was used to create savings that then we redistributed. So there are 3 steps for the assistant football coaches.
So we hired the individual at the top step?
Yeah, why would that be?
Was this individual a coach last year?
Actually, I do have a question. How does this, is this an example of something that needs to get reported out to the athletics committee as well?
Athletics has nothing to do with their pay grade.
I understand, I just,
Or more personnel or recommendations.
right.
So this is a correction from our original approval, I guess a month or so ago. So that's when so it's to correct the stipend. So I guess the individual was hired in the first step, I'm assuming. So I think the question was, Mr. LaRocca would be the reason why it would be corrected to the top step of a guide. First year as an assistant.
It just does, it's not, I mean, dealing with any particular individual, it's just that I know that that person was hired step one, we approved that person, because he was a volunteer before. So he's getting paid this year. So that's why, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, he was already, if there's a reason why he went from step one to step three, I have no problem, it's just unusual to jump that kind of steps unless, there's some other reason that we might have made a mistake, or if it is negotiations, I don't know. It's just a question. So
Is there some way that we can put a condition on that for the acting superintendent to review that F conditionally to see before it actually takes effect? If you want to amend your motion for consent agenda, whoever made the motion?
Do we want to table just that one item 5F?
Then you go right ahead. Motion to table?
Motion to table 5F.
Because it doesn't affect the position because the individual's in the position.
Correct,
It's just
right.
step one.
So motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Roll call.
This is the table B4 5F.
Correct.
Mr. Grillo,
Yes.
Ms. Lozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson.
Yes.
Ms. Breach, Mr. LaRocca, Mr. Remy, Mr. Saunders. Motion to table carries.
Any other questions on the consent agenda motion? Any other items? Board members? No? Anything else? Roll call, please.
This is all other items, page B1 through B8. Mr. Saunders? Mr. Grillo?
Yes, abstain on B2G.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes, abstaining on B2G.
Ms. Breach?
yes.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Ms. Lozinski?
Yes. Is this a personnel matter?
All motions carry.
Do we have, okay. Mr. Hastings? On consent agenda? Should have 5 votes on it. Wait. Can we go back for a second? If it's a
On all personnel
personnel,
matters, you
we need
need 5 yes votes.
Correct, so there was a
Can we,
that does not carry.
Which number?
B2G.
Can,
I have 4 affirmatives.
can we, you can change we can change your vote right now. The 2 people can change your vote if you can, it doesn't carry. If you can at least approve the individuals you may have a conflict, not have a conflict with, then at least those individuals can proceed in those positions. If you want to change your,
Yeah, I mean, okay. Then I'll change my abstention to a yes.
Was there a conflict though?
could you state your conflict just in case?
Well, so I just want to make sure because one of the people is in a political committee with me.
Okay.
And so I usually, just traditionally, I just abstain from voting for that person. And so that's why, but if there's nothing that, yeah, if there isn't any clear and present conflict of interest, then.
You work with them on something? Like
Yeah,
you're
they're on the
politically-
municipal committee.
Oh, there's no conflict. I mean, there's no legal conflict. You may feel uncomfortable for some reason, but there's no legal conflict. And the problem we have tonight, because of the limited number of board members we have, you have to get to 5 yes votes, and it doesn't seem like there is otherwise. But that's still, I mean, if you're uncomfortable, you could just vote on next time you have a full board, retroactively.
I'm fine with it if you're fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Legally, I'm fine with it.
okay. Then
All right.
make it so.
Yes for me too.
Okay. That settles that.
So Ms. Alves Anderson and Mr. Grillo, you're amending your abstentions to a yes?
I am,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, I'm glad we did that.
Mr. Hastings, whenever you're ready.
Do I have a motion for all items C1 number 1 through C5 number 1?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Breach? Yes. Mr. LaRocco?
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes, abstaining on JCP&L.
Thank you. Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
And I have one more thing. Our attorney's going to read that resolution reference mask mandate.
Okay. This is pursuant to your request that I draft a resolution. Good thing I brought a pen tonight for you all. Be it resolved that the Asbury Park Board of Education hereby supports the requirements contained in Executive Order 251, signed by Governor Philip D. Murphy on August 6, 2021, which mandates that all staff, students, and visitors wear face masks in the indoor portions of school district premises with limited exceptions. So it's.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Breach? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocco? Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Anybody want a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?